Good evening, everybody. Glad to be with you. My name's Bob, and I'm going to try to explain how those that the people in the court try to explain the scratches on that bullet and how they were made. Now, there's two ways that I know of that can cause a bullet facsimile thereof and a clip. Sorry about that. When you put the bullet in, you're going to put it in at a 45-degree angle, and this will be explained a little bit better for you so you understand. Well, it works better if you look at the camera, Tommy. You're going to come at a 45-degree angle, and you're going to push it back and slide it all the way in. And it's going to lock into the magazine. All right? But what you don't see are two grooves on this magazine, and that can scratch this bullet, especially if you don't know what you're doing. If you're trying to use your thumb and just trying to get it in there, get it in there, get it in there, you're going to scratch the heck out of it. So when they're saying, yeah, there was minute scratches, that's one way. The other way is called a speed loader. You put all your rounds in here, all right? This, in turn, slides over your gun this way, all right? Whoops, wrong side. And now all you have to do is hit the plunger, and it'll lock that round right in. That's why they call it a speed loader. It saves your thumb a lot of hassles, let me tell you. All right, so in a half a second here, I'm going to play you a video that kind of explains all that in a lot more detail than in plain English. And that way you can see what I'm talking about and bring that one up. Now I'm going to take this all the way back, and I've got this set to like playing really slow because I want you to see the beginning. And I'm concentrating on where we're at here. In a moment, you're going to see the weapon. Okay. There we go. The magazine. All right, I got to make sure I'm doing this right here. Hang on. Present screen, share screen. And for some reason, it doesn't allow me to capture the. Okay, we could do it this way. All right, add to the stage. Cool. Now I got my mousey. Only one way of skinning a cat. All right, so if you look over here, you'll see what I'm talking about. These are all the rounds in a weapon, okay? That's your magazine that's loaded. So at the beginning of this, your magazine is at the very bottom down here in the handle, okay? This is your trigger. This is your slide. And this button right here is your safety, all right? Up here is your front sight, back sight, and right across here is the crap. My thumb was in the way. It will give you a beautiful scar on your thumb. Ask me, I know. Basic training, first round out. Yow! That hurt. Okay, so we're going to play this, and I want you to pay attention to this area. Whoop, wait a minute, hang on. Was it this one? Yeah, I think it was this one. What I'm looking for is when it first came up. All right, let me reload. Well, come on now. All right, so what you got here, since we're playing around, it's going to walk you through the same thing I did. This is the hammer. Basically, if you think of a Western style gun, you know, that thing that comes up and hits the bullet, that's what this piece is. Firing pin, the hammer, assembly, firing pin strikes the round. Casing expands, lights the gunpowder, bullet away. And I'm just going to let this play because I know it's in here, but I'm at a super slow speed. Let me speed it up a little bit. You'll be here forever if I don't. Okay, so he's going to explain this. And like I said, you got the gunpowder, you got your bullet casing, and this is where the striations are up here on this. Click, fire, poof, and away she goes. All right. Now, okay, so basically, this is a good example here. You have the spent casing, okay? I haven't seen this video, so bear in mind. Striker fire means that it doesn't have an outside trigger like the revolvers do. See how that slide just went forward? This is your magazine. This is where your rounds will be. Not the bullet, but your round. What you're doing is you're pushing everything down this spring, and when it gets everything compressed, it gets really hard to get that last round in there. Depending on the type of cartridge or magazine that you can have up to 16 rounds legally. All right, so right there, see these little edges? If he's pushing down, he's making contact right here in the groove. So you're going to have a striation from that point to this point. All right? Now, if he's reloaded these weapons or these clips a few times, like I used to do, I used to rotate them out. you'll have multiple scratches up here on top. And you're pushing across the top of it with another round. Okay? See how it works? Get the revolver out of there. But that round is coming in and it's pushing against everything else. And it's got a little left, right notch kicker. All right, so when he fires this slide will come back right there. It's going to take out your thumb. Trust me, I know. The round ejects from this port right here on this side. Okay? It'll come up and out. You see it on this one. Now this one here is a speed loader. Let me get that up so you can see it. All right, so you got your clip, your dummy rounds for safety, your weapon, and a speed loader. Same process, but these rounds are inserted through the back, and then you plunge down, and it loads it for you. Pretty simple. All right, I'm going to play it from right about here and I'm going to turn it on.
That you know that is just getting into firearms, and hopefully this will help them along the way and kind of give them a jump start. So stay tuned for more of these types of videos in the near future. Also, remember to keep those firearms running clean and smooth with a bottle of our Attica Armory citrus-powered synthetic CLP. You can find out more by visiting us at atticaarmory.com. Now, let's jump to it. So today we're going to be demonstrating the loading and unloading procedure using a Glock Model 19. This is a 9mm Luger, and we're going to be using some fake practice ammo here, as you can tell by the color. Now, before you get started, just make sure you familiarize yourself with the controls on your particular gun. Things like the magazine release here, the slide stop and slide release that will lock our slide back into this position. Things like that. Just make sure that you know where your controls are at. And you can always refer to the firearm owner's manual for specifics on your particular model. Now, I am going to be starting off with an unloaded firearm, and this really, this particular condition that it's in right now is the only condition that I consider a gun to be truly unloaded, where I can trust and know for a fact that this gun is unloaded and incapable of firing. And that condition entails the magazine being out and the slide being...
Okay, now notice where this ejection port is. This is a solid piece of steel. There is a little notch hole right here. In this position, he's right-handed. He fires a weapon. The bullet goes zipping out the front. The casing will go out to the right and down. If he's in a gangster hold, sideways, right? Gangster hold. It's going to come up to the left because it's going to try to throw it out. Just so you know.
Being locked open like this so that I can see right down into the firing chamber that there is no round in there. Okay, now this is clear, and this is the condition that it needs to be in before you go down range when you're at the shooting range. And the way that I would get it into that position, there's really two ways to get it into that condition. Now, if I'm shooting and I run out of ammunition, actually this magazine follower right here will engage my slide stop, and it will lock that open after I've shot the last round. So here we've got an empty magazine, and when that round fires, goes bang, slide goes back, gets locked open right there.
Did you watch that coming over his thumb? Oops, that hurt.
Okay, so that little that slide stop just engages on the slide because the magazine follower pushed it up. And
now, what they were talking about in the court trial is that he racked a round, which is exactly what he just did. He slid the chamber back, right? Popped the round out, up to the right or to the left, depending on which way you're holding it. And the slide went back into the front position. Now, I don't know about you, but that's a waste of ammo. I am not going to give somebody any of my ammo. That's just, you just don't do that.
of course, you simply drop that magazine and now you are clear. So that's the first way to get into that position. Second way to get into that position is if you do not have a magazine in there. Let's say you're at a gun shop or somebody's showing you a gun and they hand you a gun in this condition. There's no magazine in there, but you're not sure if it's clear or not because you can't see into the firing chamber. And basically from here, what you would do is you actually...
This is how I shot my bed. Oops. Drop the magazine down.
You need to pull the slide back manually with your hand while you use your thumb to push your slide stop upward and lock it in place. Okay, so this is kind of what it looks like right there. And
now, you heard that ratchet? That's the spring mechanism. Now, it's like a shotgun, but on a very, very small scale. You pump a shotgun, everybody in the county knows it. That's why law enforcement carries a shotgun. It's very distinctive. A pistol, most concealed carry will carry one in the chamber. It takes less effort. You know you're primed and ready to roll.
once again, magazine is out and firing chamber is empty, so this gun is clear. And once again, this is the only way that I can trust that this gun is truly unloaded. Beyond this condition or being completely disassembled, say for cleaning, this is the only way that I will know. And it doesn't matter who tells you what. It doesn't matter if somebody says, oh yeah, I checked it myself. Always, always, always check and verify. And of course, always treat every gun as if it were loaded. And then you really will avoid a whole lot of problems. So when I'm at the shooting range, this is how I'm going to leave my gun when I'm actually coming off the bench and heading down range. So I've got it facing in a direction where I can see into the chamber. You know, it's not this way so that I have no visibility. I've got the open end of the chamber pointing upward so I can see into it. Now, this is the condition that we're going to practice loading from today. Now, the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you understand which direction your ammo needs to go into. I know this might seem a little simple.
I have seen so many people as beginners put them in back asswards. I was like, what are you doing? Sorry, you don't deserve to have that weapon.
But it can be a little tricky sometimes if you've never done this before. The best way to recognize it is by looking at your cartridge, at your ammo, and you can see here that the back of it has a flat surface, okay? And that flat surface is going to correspond with the flat surface on the back.
I want you to pay attention to that color on that round. there's some scratching on it.
Of your magazine, and that's the case with most pistol magazines. You can see that the front is just a little bit curved, a little bit rounded. The back is pretty much straight up flat like that. Okay, and when you're loading this thing, I like to load with my strong hand. I'm right-handed, and I kind of like to hold it just like this so that my thumb can push the rounds down right here, and I support with.
Okay, see that little mark right there? That's what I'm talking about. It's really, 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 really hard to see it, but he's got a bunch of scratching, wear and tear, for doing demos, nicks and bumps on the round itself. These are the little things that they were trying to point out in court, and I'm looking for. Helps if you're on the wrong screen, silly. Where am I at? There we go. Hopefully that's a little bit better for you. You can see the scratch marks across on the front, up here on the back of the round, and then because there's a glare, you really don't see it. But pay attention to that glare area.
My left hand, which is going to be kind of feeding rounds in. And
see that big old scratch? There's one right there. There's one right there. They're going to line up to these grooves.
What I'm doing is I'm starting with the cartridge rim right about at the end of these little feed lips. These little feed lips are what kind of hold that round in place. I want to start right at the front end of those, just like that. And I'm going to just press down with my thumb, and I'm going to pull back till it seats all the way up against the back of that magazine, just like that. And I'm going to repeat the same thing over again, lining it up right at about the front of those feed lips, pressing down and pulling back. One more time, lining it up at the front of those feed lips, pressing down and pulling back.
Now, what you don't see is that lining up position is it got a little bit of an angle to it. He's trying to get it to push down as he's coming over.
Just like that. So some guns come with these little speed loader / loading assistants. You can also buy these in the aftermarket. These are pretty helpful, especially with, I got to admit, with Glocks, they've got some pretty tough springs. And once you get down to that last round or two, it can be pretty tough. I mean, it takes a fair amount of thumb strength to really compress that spring and get it to load. So let me show you how these work. I like to just set my magazine on some kind of a flat surface, and you'll have to load in at least one round manually, particularly with this Glock type loader. You just need to put the first round in with your thumb like I showed you.
Okay, so basically what you got here is the magazine, okay? And that magazine's going to sit inside of here, all right? And you're going to put your round in right across here, same way.
And then from there, you can just kind of slide this right over the top, just like that. I'm going to grab this speed loader with my strong hand, and you can see here that if I push down on it, it compresses those rounds down into the magazine. See that? And what I have to do is with my supporting hand, so once I compress it down, I just feed that round into the feed lips as far as I can, just like this. And then I have to let up on the speed loader and then continue to press it back, just like that. So hopefully you guys were able to see that. Okay, let me show you one more time. So I'm pushing down, inserting it just to where it grabs the feed lips. Then I lift it up.
Now, what happens a lot of times, you may pop right back out because you're just not quite enough, and the round will pop back out at you. Here again, causing more scratches.
Then I lift the speed loader up to where the case rim clears this little push part, and then I just finish sliding it back in.
Okay, so those are the two ways that you can get scratched on a magazine.
Now, quick little side note. A lot of people are always asking me why I wear gloves in these videos. Well, I got a lot of reasons why I wear gloves in these videos. But let me tell you why I wear gloves when I'm loading my defensive handguns, especially the defensive ones that I'm going to keep loaded all the time or that I'm going to carry with me. So the main reason for that is because I want to keep my fingerprints off of these casings. Think about it. I mean, if you've got a concealed carry gun that you've got fingerprints all over these casings, and let's say that gun gets stolen. Let's say that gun gets used in a crime. Now all of a sudden, hey, you might have shell casings with your fingerprints at a crime scene. And, that's just one less thing that I really want to have to deal with in that kind of circumstance. One less thing that I'm going to have to explain. So I like to keep my fingerprints off of the ammo that's in my guns. Beyond that, of course, the oils in your fingers are kind of salty, and they can be slightly.
That's the real reason. You don't want to contaminate the metal any more than you have to.
Corrosive and can tarnish ammo over time. It's not a huge deal. Obviously, it's not like going to eat holes in it or anything. You don't ever want to use any kind of cleaners, oils, lubricants. Even those silicone type gun cloths can really have adverse effects on your ammunition. So I would just recommend just keep them clean to begin with. Open the box with gloves on. Keep those fingerprints off your ammo. And that's just one less thing that you're going to have to worry about. All right, so when it's time to do some loading, we're going to pretend like that direction is downrange for now, even though I'm at the workbench. Now, if the range safety officer has ensured that the range is clear, and they give you the instruction that the range is hot and that you can commence firing, you're going to want to hold the gun with your index finger, your trigger finger off the trigger at all times. And with your hand in that position, you want to turn slightly sideways, just like this, always keeping it pointed downrange and in a safe direction. Now, with my supporting hand, I like to grip the magazine like this. The reason why I like to grip it like this is because I can feel, I've got this nice tactile feel of these hard edges right here. So I know where the back of the magazine is, and I also can feel, if I need to, the tip of that nice round bullet right there. So I know where the front of the magazine is. So this, if I have to do this reload real quickly in the dark without being able to see or without looking or anything like that, I know for sure just by feel that this magazine is facing the right direction. And of course, I want to tilt my gun ever so slightly toward my supporting hand. And I'm going to just press that magazine up in there and firmly lock that in place. Now you can see from the top that we've got that first round just hanging out there at the top of the magazine. What I need to do next is I need to drop my slide. I need to let it slide forward and strip that round off the magazine and place it into the firing chamber straight in front. There's two ways to do that. The first way is to use your thumb and depress.
Okay. There's a key word that he just used, and it's strip. And it means just that. It's going to push that round from your magazine into the firing chamber. Another means of scratch.
The slide release right here. And you can see here that it did in fact chamber that round. Now the second way to chamber that round is to actually use your supporting hand and kind of slingshot the slide back and release it to let it go forward. So there is a common mistake that I've seen some new shooters.
And that, again, is a way that could cause that round to go on the ground. He had it in the magazine and did a slingshot.
Shooters do, and actually some experienced shooters do. And I've definitely seen a lot of it on Hollywood movies where they don't know what they're doing. So let me show you what I'm talking about here. I'll pull the mag out for just a sec. That's when they pull it back and they follow it forward with their hand. So you've seen it like the notorious Hollywood move. Okay, that is not the way to load a firearm. Let me show you. The reason for that is that you need that spring pressure, that recoil spring that's inside of here. You need that full spring pressure to blast that round forward. If you follow it forward with your hand like that, it can actually lead to feeding failures. Not all the time, but definitely.
Feeding failure. You're going to have this round coming up at a 45-degree angle. Okay? It's going to come up on a 45. I was a range master, and sure enough, they played the John Wayne game, and the next thing you know, they're walking that thing forward. And all of a sudden, I had to do a complete ceasefire, and clear his weapon. He didn't know how he did it. Duh.
At least sometimes a more reliable way to load in this manner is to actually pull the slide back and release it forward, and you're letting your hand continue backwards so that you have no chance of inhibiting that spring in any way. So let me
Or getting your hand in front.
show you that one more time. Now, this gun is ready to fire. It's hot. We have got a loaded magazine inserted, and we have a round in the chamber. So now all I have to do is point it at my target and squeeze that trigger. Now, after I've fired all of these rounds, say at a firing range, my slide is going to lock itself open. So from this point, it's
Okay, now the question everybody's got in their mind. Where would you use these type of dummy rounds? Most times, you're going to be using a dummy round with a sight scope. You're going to lock, load, squeeze trigger, and it's going to tell you hit or miss. Hit or miss. Hit, miss. Okay? If you're off target, that sight picture is going to be off target. This notch has to line up in that groove. Most professionals look at this groove only. Dead center mass. Point and shoot. If you notice his finger, I'm pointing right where I want to be. Okay? Just a little range trick.
pretty straightforward. All I need to do to make sure this gun is unloaded is to just remove my magazine, and now I am all clear. I can see here that I've got no rounds in that chamber. This gun.
Okay, so what you don't see with these type of rounds, you would if you actually worked it, but you can see where the rounds landed. Up to the right, on ejection. Okay? If the gun is laying flat like this is, it's going to come out, go left. That's the difference. It'll be right about here somewhere. on the ground from where the weapon is. All right, so I hope that helps you guys understand how that worked. Maybe answered a few questions how that round got to where it was and why. All right, versus way over there somewhere, it landed right there between two girls. All right. My personal opinion, I don't think he did it, but that's my own opinion. Number one, there's no blood evidence. There's nothing under the fingernails. There's nothing on that hat. And I don't even know if they found the hat. There's nothing on his coat. Sorry, dude. You lose. All you got is a round. All you got is that one spent or that one full jacketed bullet that you can't even say was on that weapon. Just my opinion. All right. So have a great evening. Hopefully you guys got something out of that. And I hope I answered some questions somewhere down the line. Have a great night. Bye-bye.